ramping up here, aren't we, Kralsey? I mean, it's so good. It's been a long time between when we've seen these competitors on track. Mount Panorama Bathurst, middle of May. So good to have them back on track, and it might look a little on the leaner side. 12 cars here. There are sort of extenuating reasons for that. A couple of competitors are overseas competing, doing some good stuff there. And in the wake of the 12-hour, with all of the issues that we've been having trouble with getting things transported and shipped to the country, some cars are still being repaired too.
They are, Rusty. There's a lot of stories to touch on, and some good moments and bad for some of our GT teams at the Spa 24-hour last weekend in Belgium. This is how the classes work in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS. So it's a Pro-Am formula, so you can't stack your car with two professional drivers. It's got to be one amateur and one pro. That's the little yellow ident on your timing. Green is the Am drivers only. Trophy cars, that's one of them. That's Scotty Taylor's previous generation Porsche 911 GT3R that has not made it onto the racetrack yet, stranded in pit lane. So hopefully STM can drag that car back to their garage, work out what's going on, and get that howling 911 back out onto it. And this is how the race works. So pro driver and an amateur driver, and the FIA and SRO, who polices GT3 racing around the world, has a driver ranking system. So you're ranked gold, silver, platinum or bronze all the way through. So pro and am. The amateur championship, 1 or 2 drivers. Some drivers elected to go single driver, Rusty, in this race. Some of them splitting the efforts across the hour-long duration of the 2 races this weekend. The trophy series for the older specification cars in the field to try and get some of them out onto the racetrack. 2 races, an hour each, one on Saturday. We're about to see them one tomorrow as well. 2 qualifying systems set the grid for each one. And the beauty is that the driver that starts today's race finishes tomorrow. So it opens up some strategic options for the drivers and teams over the course of the race.
And importantly, keeps that global alignment that you talked about before as well. SRO Motorsports Group, of course, the architects, if you will, of modern GT racing, under the guidance of Stefan Rattel, who was with us for the round at Phillip Island earlier in the year and is hoping to get back for more of our racing next season. Let's go to the lane. Good afternoon, Molly Taylor.
Good afternoon. Well, Matt Stupers leading the AM category and front row of the grid for this race. So everything's coming together very well so far.
I never talk too soon, but we've got to get a good start. The issue I've got is I've got to get behind Yasser at turn 1 or 2. It may not happen, depends how the work goes at the start. Hopefully I've got a good reaction and we can get there. I've got to be able to, I hope I can just nudge over. That's the hardest part about being on this side at the start of the race. So if we can get past that, we're okay. Because then I just said to Yass, I'll sit with you, we won't fight, you go, I'll sit behind. So, yeah.
Well, that recent testing must have been paying off, and all the best for the race.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys. Cheers. Thank you.
Good luck.
Well, of course, we know we have Garth Tander in this race, so he's coming up as the co-driver for Yasser Shahin. But the other co-driver is this man here, Shane Van Gisbergen, who will hop in with Prince Jeffrey. And so it means that the 888 teammates for Bathurst 1000 will be bringing home the race. Shane, great to see you here. Prince Jeffrey has been really coming on, hasn't he, in Asia with a couple of wins in this series over there.
Yeah, he had a couple of wins in Asia, which has been good. So I think we're 3rd today, so see how we go.
For you, up against Garth, you'd love that battle. You'd relish that, won't you, this afternoon?
Oh, he smoked me this morning, so we need to find some speed. But yeah, he's going well.
Great to see you here competing in this. We know that with the Trans Am, you had the test in it, so we're disappointed as fans that you're not there. Are you a little bit disappointed that it couldn't happen?
Yeah, politics.
Mate, well, great to see you here and go well out there today.
Thank you. Let's have fun.
Thanks, Shane.
Cheers.
Yeah, guys, I'm down here with Liam Talbot, qualified P5. Looked like a little bit of a battle.
Yeah, it's nice to be here at Queensland Raceway and the G-Technic Audi. A little bit of traffic, unfortunately, but yeah, we can race really hard from here and look forward to the battles.
Absolutely. Well, you've got an hour to do it, so good luck and get after it.
Thanks, guys.
Just standing by Tony Bates. He's just having a quick word to his engineers back in the pits, but Davey Reynolds was actually just down here as well, giving him yeah, I'm not sure if he was giving him a bit of advice or Tony was still giving him a bit of jip for crashing his car, but hopefully we'll be able to grab a word in very soon. Thanks, Tony. Well, that conversation with Davey Reynolds, did you give him a bit of jip about taking your car off?
He bought me a toasted sandwich and said we're even, so I'm not sure how a $10,000 diffuser and a $3 toasted sandwich quite works itself out, but that's how it goes.
Well, you guys have the pace, so have a good one.
Yeah, thank you.
Motor racing drivers are notoriously tight. That is a golden story and so true. True.
A toasted sandwich does not equal. We can determine this now. It's the formula. $10,000 diffuser greater than toasted ham and cheese toasty at Queensland Raceway. So that's some Tony Bates maths for you there. Look, sounds like David Reynolds has got some redemption work when he jumps into that car in the second half of the race. Tony going from the inside of the fourth row of the grid in his AFS Audi R8. Delighted to say that Michael Caruso's made the run up from pit lane to join us for this one as well. Caruso, an hour on the clock. We saw some really good racing the last time these cars raced in sprint form at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. This place, though, is a completely different kettle of fish.
Absolutely. It's great to see these cars back on track. But I still can't get over how tight Reynolds is. He's probably one of the most high-paid, high-profile motorsport drivers here in Australia. And
got $1 or two, is what you're saying? Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know. That's
one Bathurst, you know.
So you're saying a toasted sandwich, isn't it? You want the chips on the Coke on the side as well?
Well, maybe a salad, you know. Okay. This is a category all about weight, getting the most performance.
I've heard stories back in the day of Craig Baird going into the Porsche Transporter and looking at what people had spent for the weekend, and he'd find the cheapest one. And he'd go back to them and say, look, I've covered it for you, mate. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you had a great weekend.
He's such a giving guy.
Isn't he? Hello, Craig, if you're listening. We're about to go racing here in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS. Great to have these cars back on track. Some awesome sports cars, no matter what mark you love, no matter what shape you love. So the combo of Yasser Shahin and Garth Tander will start this one from pole position. You heard Molly with Matt Stupas there before alongside. We go back, the Schumacher Motorsport entry, the Kelso Electrical entry. There is a supercars driver in that camp this weekend, kind of helping out, isn't there?
Yeah, Tim Slade's got the headset on there, doing a little bit of driver coaching with the Bathurstian, Brad Schumacher, who's drove for the factory Audi team in the Bathurst 12 hour and did a really nice job there. In fact, they were pretty frustrated to not win that race. A few little issues within the Audi camp cost them a shot at victory on the mountain. So this grid determined from qualifying one early this morning. It was on a drying track. It was quite wet this morning when we arrived. The track progressively got better and better as the race unfolded, and by the end of it they were going very quickly. So this grid, based on the times that the AM drivers did, the grid for tomorrow's race based on the times that the professionals, so Garth Tander was fastest, just in front of Shane Van Gisbergen.
That KFC entry just coming through at the back of the grid there. Gary Higgin successfully won Franchisee of the Year at the KFC National Conference on the Gold Coast just a couple of days ago. They had all the restaurant managers and so on there. So he's a proud
is that
owner of one of those.
got the lettuce sorted? Are they got the lettuce running now in that franchise?
Did you do a bit of that when you were younger as a part-time job?
No, I actually worked at Big W.
Did you? This is awesome. We've got to focus on some racing here rather than part-time careers. Awesome to have Michael Caruso with us. Did a super job when he was co-calling with us at Phillip Island. So we're back. We're ready to go racing once again. Pro and AM formula. The pro is Richard Crail in the driver's seat. I'm Greg Rust with you with the AM cap on, and we are good to go racing, folks. The clock is counting. An hour of competition just under, and away we go. Yasser Shahin in that Bend Motorsport livery on that Audi will take the lead into turn one. They bounce with these stiffly sprung cars across and through turn one. Keep an eye on that 888 Merc.
Really conservative start from Jeffrey Ibrahim, the Prince there in that 888 Race Engineering with Johor Racing AMG GT3. But everyone gets through turn 1 and 2. That's what Matt Stupas was talking about on the start line. He said, I just wanted to slot in behind Yasser, then we're going to run line astern. Liam Talbot not running line astern. The big send around the outside. G-Technic, new sponsor, right here, red livery on that Audi R8 that he'll share with his good mate Fraser Ross. Fraser staying with the Talbot Robinson household this weekend, enjoying himself, I'm told. This is a good battle with Jeffrey Ibrahim on the outside there, and I think Talbot will wrestle that position away. And now Mark Rosser in the Catan car gets the big tank slapper on, and Ibrahim's off the road.
What a fiery start there. I mean, it looked pretty placid in first two corners, but it didn't fire up in three.
Did you, cold tyres admittedly, but do you think Prince Jeffrey perhaps saw that going to Custard and maybe tried to get out of the way of that in case the Audi went round?
Well, yeah, could have. Very driving tentatively the whole field on the opening lap. And now Konduras is going to get down the inside as well. It's James in that car. His brother Theo will take over for the second half of the race, the AM contenders.
I feel like he's playing to Van Gisbergen's strengths here. He knows Van Gisbergen drives better under pressure, and we've seen it. How many times we've seen him drive through the field? He's lose a few spots. He'll be loving it back in the pit lane.
I like it. So he's saying he's setting up SVG for the burn for the stern. I like it. As Stupers now finds himself under pressure from Liam Talbot, who ended up on his lid in a Carrera Cup car last weekend at the Bend. So he's had a pretty hectic time of it of late, but a feisty start. He is one of the quickest AM drivers in the country. In fact, at the Bathurst 12 hour, he wasn't that far off the pros. He is a very, very fast steerer, and Talbot's got a great run out of turn 5. Perfect place to pull a move is turn 6, and under brakes the Audi from over 200 k's an hour. Gets down the inside. Textbook stuff at QR, and Talbot's charged through the field, and he's got himself to second.
He is a driver that's really well connected with his race car at the moment. We saw him perform really well at Phillip Island. Like you said, he's got the speed of Bathurst, but you've got to have a lot of confidence on the cold tyres.
So he's out of the dirty stuff at this point here, Prince Jeffrey. Then watch the Audi to the left of your screen. And maybe, again, just on the dirty part of the track at that stage of the early stage of the race, Michael, not ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't take much in these cars. You pick up a bit of that debris off the track or offline, and that's all just bits of rubber that come off the tyre, and you get that on the tyre, and that just really gives you no grip at all. So it doesn't take much to rub off, but also easy to pass someone.
The question that leads to is, how do you reset? Righto, I've drifted back in the pack. It's been a little bit of an unnerving moment. I've got the pressure of a great organisation like Triple Eight around me. What do you do to reset and go back again?
And this is where, a great point, Rusty, because this is where the engineer will jump on the radio, they'll calm you down. Righto, mate, get into a rhythm. It's okay, long race, still got 54 minutes to go. You know, they start cycling your brain back into, you know, a happy place, because it gets hot, you know, you're all under pressure. You know, I'm joking earlier about him losing spots for SVG, but the reality is you're in the car, you want to go forward.
Contrast that. Do you get feisty in those moments, mate? What are you like?
Oh, mate, I'm cool as a cucumber, you know, mate.
Don't buy that. Don't buy it. And another thing that might help the Prince is that coming off recent success last time out, they raced at Fuji Speedway in GT World Challenge Asia. Same set of rules, same set of cars, just different track, different location. He paired up with Aussie expat Nick Foster, who's doing a great job overseas, and they won the second race at Fuji, having won the season opener at Sepang at the start of the year. So Triple Eight broadening their horizons, racing internationally with a pair of Mercedes AMG GT3 from Johor Racing. So he's got prize, he's got form, he's confident in his driving, but it's so often at Queensland Raceway you see drivers get that hip and shoulder out wide, out into the marbles on the opening lap. And at this place, it's almost like an oval. You drop it early, you go right to the back of the pack because you just lose so much momentum.
Absolutely. I'm just watching Liam Talbot and Shaheen Yasser trade fastest laps here, but that's going to be a great little battle as Talbot gets onto the back bin.
Go back to the front, so Talbot with the fastest lap, but that's then eclipsed by Yasser Shaheen, taken back again by Liam Talbot, so they're trading fastest laps, those guys. And the margin is 1.2 seconds at the top.
One shot for turn 1. Well over 200 k's an hour in approach, and these cars with all the downforce they've got, especially the 2022 specification, they call them the Evo, which is the upgrade pack. So both the Mercedes AMG and the Audi got the Evo pack for this year. The Audi, they basically turned the rear wing into a sideboard from one of those old manor houses, but bigger and made from carbon fibre. It's an enormous piece of carbon hanging over the rear axle on those cars to generate downforce. They changed the mounting points to the top to clean up the airflow over it. Front splitter's different, all the aero appendages. They produce so much downforce, these cars now. And it's one of the things that the AM drivers have to get their head around. It's fine for a pro, they're used to trusting that aero, but when you're an AM driver, you don't do this for a living, you're not in a car every weekend. The drivers say it's hard for them to build up that confidence and trust that when you turn into a 200k an hour corner, you're going to come out pointing the other side, because that mythical thing that is downforce will work for you.
Absolutely, and you talk about a turn like turn 1 as they're about to approach you, and there's a little bump, and that really unsettles the car. And it doesn't take much to get the car out of shape. And as you said, you've got to have that confidence. Use all the road. We can see that happening now. get yourself a good run coming on the back straight, set that up for turn 3.
We watched them coming through the midsection of the track before the middle of what they jokingly called the paperclip. We were watching Matt Stupas, but we saw a little bit of dust fly. So I wonder if Liam Talbot just briefly ran off track or something along those lines up the road ahead of them. We'll keep an eye on this battle. So on the wider line for Prince Jeffrey coming into that corner, but if he can hang here, hang tough, he'll be ideally placed in the middle part, won't he?
Absolutely, yeah. Nice little move there. Hanging on the outside. He's done that before. And he holds him up there so he can't get back on the inside for turn 5.
Just enough room for him to put that big AMG GT3 alongside Tony Bates. It's a good move. It was set up through turn 1. He dragged a heap of margin out of Bates through 1, and then through turn 2 he got the good drive. That forced Bates to go defensive on the run down to 3. The move ultimately done all the way around the corner. So that's one of the great things about this place, and has always been at Queensland Raceway since it opened in '99. It's set up a move at 1, but it might not pay off until you get to turn 4 or 5.
Absolutely.
This is a good battle. Mark Rosser chasing down Matt Stupas, both for the AM class lead, the amateur driver lead, and third outright on the road, with Brad Schumacher chasing them down in the Kelso electrical car.
Now, you boys were covering off about the aero a little bit earlier and having the confidence, and one thing that really takes your confidence away is actually the wind direction. So this circuit here, the wind's coming across the track at the moment, and as they head up into turn 4, it's actually coming from the right to the left. And what that actually does, when you go into turn 1, it's going to give you a lot of understeer. But then when you come out into turn 2, it's actually going to give you a lot of turns. So it's going to make the car want to oversteer. So you got to, that confidence works 2 ways. You know, the car does one thing, but the wind can unbalance the car real easy.
Speaking of confidence, Liam Talbot is bolting together a ripping lap here and has been able to get the margin to Yasser Shahin to under a second. So that, in fact, is the fastest lap of the race, including 2 purples in sectors 1 and 2. Let's go to the lane.
Here at Audi, and Garth Tander has been pacing. He's so nervous about getting into the car that he's sitting down just chilling. Garth, mate, you've been here and done it all before, but your man's out in front, Yasser, and he's doing it well.
He's doing a great job, doing everything he needs to do. Got a good start on the dirty side of the track. And, just punching out laps, so in the lead, it's all good.
Good. But you're 5 seconds down on Liam Talbot and Fraser Ross in terms of the success penalty, so your stationary time in the stop. So the way things are at the moment, he needs to push on or you'll start from second.
Yeah, I didn't know about this penalty, this 15-second penalty, when they asked me to come and do this. So I have to thank a very good friend of mine, Christopher Mees, who's an Audi factory driver, who tipped me into this drive this weekend, and he didn't tell me that we had to do a 15-second time penalty because of his win.
We like keeping veterans like you guessing, Garth.
Yeah, well. So anyway, that's the way GT racing works. So, if we don't have that 5-second gap on track before the pit stop, I'll have to go and pass Fraser Ross in the run home, which is why it's pretty cool. It's good fun.
It's getting close on track. We'll get back to the action.
Well done, Stubbsy. I got my media window is closed before when I went to speak to Garth, so good job. Michael raised his eyebrows there a moment ago. We might try and play TV director again in a minute. I think, was it Liam Talbot's car that we were riding with? And you were looking at, you can see some of these maybe from the windscreen tear-offs, like little bubbles in the windscreen, but it's quite pronounced on the Audi of Talbot's, wasn't it? Down low in particular, along the bottom. I actually thought it looked like, when your air conditioning is super cold and the window starts to, it's not, but it looks like that, doesn't it? Look.
Yeah, absolutely, and it does. I think you guys picked it up. That when they put the tear-offs on these cars, which is, if we get debris on the screen and what have you, they'll rip it off in the pit stop, but it looks like they've done a pretty poor job of actually getting the bubbles out. And in these cars, as we know, you want to sit as low as you possibly can. So that'll be right in his line of vision as well. So hopefully it doesn't affect him too much. I know if I was driving, I wouldn't be happy about it. But I'd be telling him to rip that tear-off off.
But you're cool, calm and collected. You just told us that. You wouldn't be blowing up about that.
Well, it's the way you communicate, though.
Okay.
Kralsey, you communicate in a calm, collective way and say, guys, next time I come in...
Would you please kindly remove the tear-off?
Thank you.
Okay. Nice.
He's been able to get it to within half a second, so well done, Liam Talbot, and that'll be the last time I'm asked to help with windscreen tear-off application. So
while we were hearing from Stubbsy and Garth Tander, Yasser bowled wide down here at turn 3, very deep under brakes and ran very, very wide, and you could see it affect him all the way down to turn 4 as he got the marbles off the tyre. Very dirty offline here at Queensland Raceway today, and the track evolving and changing as well. Lots of rain overnight, so gave the track a good cleansing, and it took a couple of sessions this morning for it to fully dry out. So it's still rubbering in, which is why we're seeing really good lap times. This is a great battle. The other point it's worth talking about, you heard Garth Tander going, I've got to spend 5 seconds longer in pit lane. And that's the thing with GT racing. There's a base time that every car has to do for their compulsory pit stop. Here, it's 98 seconds. That's from pit in to pit out. But if you win or if you're at the front of the field, there's some penalty time involved. Whoa. And the KFC cars got the penalty down there at turn 1. And does he get it out of the gravel?
He got stuck there yesterday in practice, didn't he? Nice recovery.
I wonder if the overnight rains just compressed the gravel a little bit and he's able to drive out.
You don't see that too often, do you?
So just to finish that point, so Yasser Shahin and Garth Tander, when they come through pit lane to make their stop, it's 113 seconds from pit in to pit out. For Talbot and Ross, it's 108. 5 seconds the difference. That's the job that Garth Tander's going to have to do in the second half of the race, assuming they pit like they are running right now. Shahin leads Talbot the margin, officially half a second. Let's go back down to the lane and catch up with Molly Taylor.
The spectating in this track is fantastic. You can really see everything from here where we stand. And catching in on that, I've just found another familiar face. He looks like he's saying something important, so we'll wait a second and maybe we'll recognise him if he takes his sunnies off and cap. Trying to keep a low profile. Tim Slade, welcome to the Speed Series, and what's your role here this weekend?
Just helping my friend Brad Schumacher, just with a bit of driving and yeah, a few other bits and pieces. But yeah, no, he's going well. We didn't test here, I guess, like a lot of the other guys did pre-event. And then yesterday was difficult, only getting the one session. Second session was wet, so yeah, he just told me that the tyres are a bit high in pressure, so yeah, we might stop towards the start of the window so we can adjust that rather than leave it long.
He's doing a great job sitting in fifth overall, first in the GT3 category. It looks like he's getting that buffer for the extra success penalty time he's going to have to wait in the pits. But what's been the key to getting the most out of the GT cars around a track like this?
To be honest, we haven't really touched the setup too much. We only kind of had that one dry session yesterday, and you know, the base setup that you get from NPC and the Audi guys is always pretty close to the mark. So I think, yeah, a GT3 car around a track like this, there's a lot in braking. Yeah, they do stop extremely well, and you really need to maximise, you know, the ABS systems that they have, and yeah, just the high-speed stuff through 1 and 2. You know, I guess flowing a lot of speed through those corners. So I don't know. I haven't done any driving here in a GT3 car for a long time, but that's my guess.
Well, we'll let you get back to it, and nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. Ciao.
And just picking up there off what you were saying before, Richard Crale, about the situation with the mandatory pit stop times. If you actually take a look at the timing monitor at the moment, there's 11 seconds between Prince Jeffrey and Garth Tander. Now, they have a 15-second penalty, as we've discussed, for Yasser Shahin and Garth Tander, but the Prince doesn't have any penalty at all. So at the moment, Garth Tander would come out in third position, and he said, bloody oath, I want to get past Van Gisbergen. So it's game on for the Bathurst teammates.
Yeah, it's a good point you make. And Michael Caruso's just pointed out the timing monitor. Prince Jeffrey down into the 9s now. And the safety car could change the game for everybody here, because it's going to be called to the racetrack, because the Superbar and Supermarkets Audi of James Konduras is parked to the side of the road. Smoke pouring from the back of the big V10.
Now this is
running to turn 6, Chris.
This will actually play into the hands of everybody that's spread out in the field. Yep. So all those drivers just reduces all these margins. So everything comes back to square one, and we start all over again, which I know a lot of the pro drivers will be loving it at the moment.
Absolutely. And the pit stop window opens at 25 minutes and closes at 35. Now, if there's a safety car out, so be it. You stop under safety car. So if this safety car lasts more, so what, we're 18 minutes into the race now. If it lasts 6 minutes, they'll all barrel into pit lane. Everyone will get a free stop, but then someone's going to end up at the back of the queue because they'll have to stop for a little bit longer than their nearest rivals. And that's back to that point that Stubbsy was making. The two leaders were 11 seconds in front of car 888, but car 888 would make up 15 of those under the pit stop. That's what makes these races really interesting. You never know who's going to end up
play out.
Yeah, exactly
absolutely.
Right.
It doesn't take much, but
but a safety car changes the game completely, because bunching the field up is not what car 1, car 20, car 17, that leading group of cars wanted at all.
You do not see this very often, do you? And they've been around such a long time in this style of racing, James and Theo Konduras. So we'll try and...
This looks expensive.
Yeah. We'll cover off in pit lane what's...
I haven't got one of these cars.
Probably good right now that that's not yours.
Toasted sandwich will cover it, won't it? Now, the fight for the IndyCar crown, let's not forget about that, because this is the place to see it. Australia's own Will Power leading the way, but has 6 fired-up contenders hot on his heels, heading to Nashville. It's all live, ad-free, from Monday at 5 a.m. on Stan Sport. And a reminder, stick with us on our Speed Series coverage this afternoon. That man right there to the right of your screen, Scotty McLaughlin. We love him in this part of the world. Matthew White's done a special catch-up with him. Don't miss that either. That's going to be cool.
Such a good championship, and our own Will Power leading the standings. Mega. And the last time he had an IndyCar season where his average finishing position was better than his average starting position, which he has this year, he won the title for Team Penske. So he is in a really good position with 4 races to go in an outstanding championship, and Scotty doing incredible things, a couple of race wins already to his credit, and establishing a remarkable career. So our boys doing an awesome job over there. And we should say young Hunter McElroy second in Indy Lights as well.
I texted Andy this morning and said, oh, hey, could you give me a hand with some information on, the Porsches here at Queensland Raceway? He said, I'd love to offer you something from Nashville. He said, please contact Warren Love. No problem. No problem.
So that is a drama. This was an interesting story at the Bathurst 12-hour. The Superbarn team had a big crash earlier in the weekend. They actually went back to Melbourne, got a spare car, a previous generation car, drove it up the Hume, unloaded the thing Friday night at Bathurst, rebuilt it overnight, upgraded it to 2022 spec, and they started the 12-hour on Sunday morning.
Smokes.
It was a huge effort, and they got through much of that race. So it was a big job. Harold's Racing, with Valente Rosso now steering the ship behind the scenes there. That was Chris Papadopoulos with the headset on. He's the engineer. Used to run Kimi Raikkonen in Formula One. Interesting radio conversations would have occurred there, I would imagine.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I think he was actually on that car with that race.
Really?
Don't talk to me, I know what I'm doing at Abu Dhabi.
That's awesome.
So Harold's Racing, Ross Polakis behind the wheel. He'll hand that car over to Peter Hackett. Great to have a former GT Enduro champion and open wheel ace. You would have raced Hollywood in Formula 3 back in your junior days, would you not? He was around that scene about the same time.
Just as I came into the category, yeah.
2001 he won the Australian Formula 3 Championship. There's Sam Shahin watching on from pit lane.
Oh, look at that hat he's got on, mate. That would be worth with some of the more than the cars out there.
There's a big Ayrton Senna quote. I admire competency, dedication and commitment up on the wall at the bend in the Welcome Centre. So both he and Yasser, big Ayrton Senna fans. So good to see Sam there supporting his brother.
He brought up Formula 3 there before. If memory serves too, Peter ran with Michael Massey's uncle's team, I think, didn't
Rudy,
he? Back
yes.
in the day? Rudy,
yep.
Which is, gosh, it takes me back.
With backing from originally Betty Clemenco, her first foray into the sport. Which
Cactus
is, now Eris, it was, yeah. One of his many backers.
Shane Van Gisbergen ready to go. You can see Jessica Daines in the middle of the group there. Very funny moment. You can find it on social media. Shane's been doing some rallying in New Zealand ahead of his appearance in the WRC event coming up over there at the end of September. And I was with Greg Murphy checking out an event in Hawke's Bay. And Murph thought it would be a great idea to stick his GoPro on the, what he thought was far enough offline. Shane clean bowled it. Beautiful new GoPro, gone. And we were all wailing about it later, of course. Good luck with that, Gregory.
On that note, kia ora to our New Zealand friends.
Yes.
I'll be watching on. No doubt. That was very funny, that video. And our colleague, G. Rust, in the background with the laugh.
Wailing,
instantaneously knew who that was. And poor old Murph, his brand new GoPro 10 disappeared. Talk about hitting the apex. Apex Hunters United there for SVG.
Who had, at that stage, he'd led and won 3 stages of that event, and it was a national championship round. He was a close second in a national round here in Canberra earlier in the year. And there's some pretty decent competitors there in the New Zealand Rally Championship, and he could have won that thing had he not gone off on stage 4 on some slippy stuff. So
it's outrageous that someone can be so talented amongst so many disciplines. Pit window very close to opening, and light's still on the safety car. If they go round one more time, the window will open.
They'll all bowl in.
Yeah, potentially on the restart. So you could gamble and stay out and make a really interesting call, or they may all stay out. It's going to be one more lap at least. This car getting back into pit lane. Well done to the recovery team. Not easy to drag one of these cars up onto a flatbed. They sit so low to the ground, and it will be one more lap. So a minute away from opening the pit window. And we're getting word through that with the safety car, race controls actually moved the window to 13:30 local time. So that's 6 minutes from now. I was kind of hoping everyone plays in on the yellow. That would have been exciting, but it's still going to be pretty tense, and there's going to be some cars sitting in the lane longer than others, and the order will shuffle around. But I think the outcome will be that we're going to see Garth Tander versus Shane Van Gisbergen at some point today.
This actually, this brings the number 2 car back into the field, because, you know, that little off would have cost him a lot of time. Good opportunity to make some spots back up with a few minutes on the clock.
I love Matt Stupas at the start. He did exactly what he communicated on the grid. He said, I wanted to slot in behind Yasser Shahin. He did that at turn 1. Really clean, good racing. And I love the fact that they talked about that before the start and came up with a bit of a plan, knowing that in a 1 hour race especially, you're never going to win it at turn 1. But it would be oh so easy for a pair of very expensive Audi R8 GT3 Ultras to be parked in that gravel trap and not going anywhere.
What are the final messages from the engineers, the likes of Eric Pender, you know, Brett Bull, others that are, you know, running some of these cars? What sort of things are they telling you during a safety car period before you go green again?
Look, I think the ones that are, you know, they're probably keeping that temperature up on the tyres, communicating that, keep them warm, because you obviously want to get going as fast as you can. Staying calm, holding position. You know, you only got a few minutes to hang on to it, and then you can come in the pits. So that's where the focus will be, I think.
And observing all restart rules, obviously, if there's any key ones, depending on the category that you're in. So we're set to go again. Hyundai safety car here at the Speed Series, presented by Shannon's at Queensland Raceway, live on Stan Sport. Hope you're enjoying it. We're about to get underway again. Awesome to have these GT cars, more than $6 million worth of beautiful machines here. Yasser Shahin leading the way from Liam Talbot, who looked very racy until our safety car period, and had been able to close that gap to within 4/10. So away we go. Mark Rosser holding down third. And then Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, despite an off in the middle of the circuit a little earlier, has recovered. Good drive to 4th place for him.
Yeah, really good comeback trail. And remember, he's got 15 seconds up his sleeve when they all bail into pit lane for the compulsory pit stop. He will be stationary for 15 seconds less than the leading cars, especially that number 1 Audi, defending champion Yasser Shahin, Tander to jump behind the wheel of that car. Turn 3, sun breaking through the clouds at Queensland Raceway, so the track temperature is going to come up as well. Talbot fighting the rear axle of the G-Technic car through turn 3, but going with the race leader. You mentioned Mark Rosser as well, Rusty. Really good job from the South Australian driver. He's still relatively inexperienced in these cars, but an impressive performance from the Catan car, being run by Team BRM, S5000 champions this season.
It looks like it's on here, down into turn 6.
How's the thunder of the big V8
I love it.
in the AMG GT3 against the wail of the V10. It's one of the great attributes of GT racing. The different cars with different engines and even different configurations. The Audi mid-mount V10, the Merc with that big naturally aspirated engine hanging out over the front in that acres-long bonnet, but they ultimately end up lapping within a few hundredths of a second of each other. So this is the fight for 3rd position. Shahin and Talbot out in front. Behind them, Matt Stupas has spun at turn 2, and Schumacher takes evasive action, dives out of the way, and avoids an accident. Oh, that was hairy.
Hot and spicy coming off turn 2 there for those KZ cars, let me tell you.
Outstanding work. Here it is, just mid-corner, turn 2. How's Brad Schumacher with the save to the inside there. Here it is on board with Tony Bates. That's a very strange little spin for us.
Yeah, look, you know, we spoke about keeping those tyres warm under the safety car. They're still not up. Unfortunately, it looks like they've just come out a bit wide, as we see here, a bit of another spin.
Ross Polakis, that is, the Harold's Racing Mercedes AMG GT3. This is a brand new car. It arrived in the country a couple of weeks ago.
Big plans for this outfit too, isn't there?
Yeah, they're going to go back to 2 cars. So that we saw Sam Brabham driving with Ross at Phillip Island in the GT4 AMG. They're going to bring that car back later on in the championship, so they'll go to 2 cars.
With Sam?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yep. Grandson of the great Sir Jack. So, good battle. How was the debris on the exit at turn 2? Lots of that gravel trap has been moved from where the gravel trap was onto the racing line on the exit of turn 2. And that's the same with the brothers Kanduris from Canberra, the proprietors of Super Barn Supermarkets. I've shopped at the Super Barn to support the motor racing industry. Very nicely done.
Let's have a look here on the replay. This is the move for 3rd place. So watch Prince Jeffrey. Oh, and Rosser a little loose, and that was all the opportunity he needed.
Nice little move there, but we're seeing a lot of them actually struggle with that tyre temp, the rear tyre temp, particularly in the Audis, so they must run it pretty loose around here.
Very tail-happy GT3 cars. It's not something you often see in this style of racing. In fact, drivers often complain about understeering these cars, wanting to push through the corner rather than the rear overtaking the front. Here's 888 with JMR on the wheel guns, ready to go for their stop. So we're not far away from seeing car 888 head into pit lane.
Fastest lap of the race belongs to that red car there. Liam Talbot with a 109.52. The gap is back out to 1.4. So despite that safety car period, Yasser Shahin clearly did a good job of maintaining pressure, temperature, and launched away at the restart. That's been that's a very good move.
Yeah, one of the attributes of Yasser's championship last year was his ability to extract the most out of these cars in cold tyres especially, and build those margins early, which then has the flow-on effect of helping your pit stop strategy. And what will be helping now as well is that Talbot has got an AMG GT3 and that unmistakable front grille locked under the rear wing of his car. So it's a really good battle going on, but I wonder, yep, pit lane it is. And all 3 leaders choose the exact same moment to bail into pit lane. The window open now. Compulsory pit stops underway. So from that control line where they engage the 40k an hour speed limit, car 888 has 98 seconds. The race leader has 113 seconds. But it's not stationary time, it's to the control line. So somehow you need to be really good at maths to get that margin from the stop, from pit in and to pit out. And if you're under that, it's a massive penalty and it will end your race.
And it's a different kind of vibe for the drivers. I mean, you can see the body language of Garth Tander getting in there a moment ago, Shane Van Gisbergen ditto. There's no need to rush at this point, Michael, is there?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're talking about some of the most experienced race car drivers we have. Cool, calm and collective. They know what they've got to do, how long they actually have to get in the car. That'll be all communicated, even while he's sitting here in the pits right now.
One of the things, you talk about experience, and 888 Race Engineering know how to play the game. We all know that. Last night, they had a session under lights, and that was okay, and they were all planning to run, but then it rained. And a lot of teams went, well, we're not expecting rain in the races. We don't think we need to run. What 888 did, they didn't practice, but they practiced pit stops. They went out, they went round, they came into pit lane, they got the stopwatch on, they did the stationary time, and they drove back out. So they spent that session working this exact sequence out. Really important stuff. So Shane Van Gisbergen now behind the wheel. And he's got that bonus time in pit lane. And it's the same now with Fraser Ross behind the wheel. Out he goes, and Garth Tander now resumes. So Tander has gone from 1st to 3rd at least when the whole pit stop sequence shuffles out.
Watch for Toasted Sandwich Boy here. David Reynolds, he'll be one worth watching. And the safety car very much has worked. The timing of that safety car for the 888 team. So Van Gisbergen will lead them away. Audi Sport Customer Racing, very, very busy. Rosser, I think, yet to take service.
Yep. He's going to get some good track position out of this as well. He's got a slightly longer pit stop time than others, 103 seconds. So he's got an extra 5 seconds over the standard 98. That's Roland Dane just congratulating Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim on a really impressive drive. After a challenging opening lap, his recovery was outstanding. Safety car certainly helped, but his car speed was very, very good. Here's Gartanda on Fraser Ross. And Fraser would be the first to say that he's probably not quite in the same league as the four-time winner of the Bathurst 1000, Tander through. That second, when they get to the line, we'll be able to give you an indication of the margin between himself and Shane Van Gisbergen, which, when everyone else stops, will be the battle for the race lead.
Some of the remaining cars that have yet to do that stop. So Max Stukas, I think, is in the lane at the moment. So
they're not afraid, Michael, of using that exit curve at turn 6, are they? And kicking up the dust. Can't be good for the life of a left rear tyre, which does a fair amount of work in this place.
Well, left rear shock absorber, especially in these cars, they wouldn't have much room for error.
So that's the gap, first to second. That gives it to you in a real sense as they run down the back straight. There's Garth Tander.
I believe wholeheartedly and totally in the abilities of GT. I'm just not sure if that's the kind of margin he can haul back in on a driver who is arguably the best in the country at the moment in Shane Van Gisbergen. Let's see though, maybe the Audi has an advantage as the race goes on in terms of tyre life.
As they exchange sector times, Tander looks like he's a 10th up on Van Gisbergen.
So we're talking the effective leader. Mark Rosser is still at the front of this field as we take you back to the lane.
Thanks, Rusty. Just whetting the appetite, if you like, for this battle between Shane Van Gisbergen and Garth Tander. In qualifying, Tander was more than 6/10 quicker on that flying lap. So there is a margin ahead of him to make up, but he has had the pace so far this weekend over, kids.
Nice pick up, Stubbsy. Gap at the moment is 8.4 seconds. What do we have? We've got under 25 minutes remaining in this race now. So
Rosser and Team BRM keeping Mark Rosser out. So making the most of that track position here is car 17. So he's got 103 seconds worth of compulsory pit stop time to tick off. So the way this is all playing out right now, there's only 3 cars on the lead lap. Such a short lap here at Queensland Raceway, 70 seconds. When you're in pit lane for 113 seconds, you are going to go down a lap. Fabian?
Yeah, so down here with Liam Talbot, great opening stint. How's the Audi feel?
Yeah, it was mega. Like, had so much fun. Started from 5th, got up to 2nd, pressuring for 1st, but it's all good. They've got a disadvantage in the pit stop, so hopefully we can stay in front.
Yeah, absolutely. So family here this weekend?
Yeah, I got the girls coming tomorrow, but big shout out to Kenzie, Theodora and Charlie.
All right, good luck for the rest of the race.
I'm a little bit worried he was going to forget a name then, wasn't he? That is a dead thing to do. Don't worry. Sorry. What is your name again?
Van Gisbergen goes purple in the middle of the sector and the fastest lap of the race so far.
109.4 for the Flying Kiwi in that big Mercedes AMG GT3. So Audi Custom Sport Racing Australia, headed up by Troy Russell out of the Melbourne Performance Centre. Massive facility down there. You go in there and there's acres of Audis parked under shed, and the 4 transporters, and it's a remarkable setup they've got going on.
And they bring in friends and expand the group on race weekend. I mean, running TCR cars as well. I mean, it's a huge undertaking, isn't it?
Really impressive. More cars rolling in. So Schumacher in and Kikinos as well in car number 8. So this will be our effective leader right now. Rosser, who leads the race, the only driver yet to make a pit stop. And Van Gisbergen pounding away with 11 seconds to the good over Garth Tander. Molly?
Yes, Shaheen, it was a fantastic start from you and a great run. The safety car didn't make life very easy for you guys. What do you think Garth can do now?
Firstly, we need the safety car after the pit stop, not before. I don't know how Garth's going to go, getting 15 seconds on Giz, but no, it was good. Just unfortunately, the safety car came at the wrong time for us, but we broke away early and the car was good. I did what I had to do.
You certainly did. And what was the feedback to Garth, and how is the car feeling around a track like this?
Oh, car's great. It's just we're having a hard time with tyre pressures because we've been so cold and now it's quite warm. So he'll just have to manage that. It's a little bit sketchy in the rear, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
I'm sure he'll be able to handle it, but very good. Well done for your run.
Oh, good talking to you.
Thanks, Jessa.
In the break, in racing, in our mid-season break, I think he went to some amazing places, Tanzania and South Africa on safari.
Full
and
safari,
yeah.
Yep, I caught up with Yasser last weekend at the Bend, the circuit that he and his brother are heavily involved in, obviously, and making really good progress out there. Yasser, for training to drive these cars, has got a Formula Renault 3.5 V8. It's a Dallara 600 horsepower V8 Opel Miller. That was the category that Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc and a couple of others raced before going into Formula One. So he's got those at the bends. So talk about aero cars. Going back to a GT3 car will seem relatively easy to drive. Rosser in, the leader. So this cleanses the race. You can see Brad Schumacher rolling out of the lane as well.
Awesome car that you bring up then. How's the Caruso reaction? It was just like opportunity. Can I drive that? Can I get in that thing? How do I do that? Yes, sir. How are you? It's Caruso here.
I can imagine him sidling down there with a latte after this race just to go and say good day.
Now, maybe one of the engineers has jumped on the radio because Garth just responded with a 109.3 to get the fastest lap. So I like the exchange that these two are having at the moment.
20 minutes to go. Can he make a dent in that 11-second margin between them? You're watching Rosser, who is top of our leaderboard at the moment on the left of your screen. You can see the 20 machine. Fraser Ross at the wheel, the car that he shares with Liam Talbot, who we spoke to a short time ago. Good sector starting to pop up again from Garth Tander. So we shake out, we reset. Van Gisbergen takes the race lead.
It's hard, Rusty, to believe, but this is Garth's first race meeting of the year behind the wheel.
He was blown away when he said that.
Yeah, it seems baffling, but that's the life of a semi-retired race car driver these days, I would imagine.
Aside of his broadcasting, he is super busy with the kids karting.
Yeah.
And I think they're away again this weekend.
Yeah.
Anne is with them, and
yep,
they're loving it.
Young Sebastian going along very nicely, I'm told. Bit of talent in that family, with mum and dad both being outstanding racing car drivers in their own right. Fabian?
Down here with Jeffrey Ibrahim. That was a great first stint. Handed the car over to Shane. How does it feel?
It feels good. I think, I messed up the start a bit and lost a few positions, so I got to pick it up again. So it was fun, chasing those cars down, and I was just taking one lap at a time and trying not to make a mistake and try to keep it clean when Shane jumps in.
Yeah, so the car's in safe hands now, so I guess it'll just be status quo from here to the finish.
Sorry?
It'll just be status quo, so the car will continue doing consistent laps and have good performance.
Yeah, I really hope so. I mean, the Audis are pretty strong, so hopefully we can help them behind and chase them in front as well. So we'll see what the best rules are set.
No worries, good luck for the rest of the race.
Tony Bates, sorry, we're just in the middle of a chat there. Really disappointing run, dropped down to 11th. What happened?
I never felt comfortable in the car from the start of the race. I think we got a tyre that had a slow leak. It felt similar to when I let go of Bathurst. I said to the boys on the radio, I just don't feel comfortable in the car. And I think it had a slow leak. As soon as Dave got in the car, he reported the same thing. He just didn't feel right until it sort of started to let go and we had to come in and change the left-hand rear.
So no idea where it came from, nothing happened out on the track?
I mean, it's the same as Bathurst. There's no warnings. Other than just out there, it just never felt a stable car. So I think we had a slow leak from the start, to be honest. But we were going all right there after the safety car. I thought we were in a good spot. And I think Dave lost 4 seconds. The counter wasn't working or something, so we lost 4 seconds in the pit stop. So just not our day.
Another race coming up later on, so all the best for that one.
Sorry?
Another race still to go this weekend, so all the best for that.
Yeah, Dave starts from second tomorrow, so hopefully a bit more luck. We might be able to punch on for the win.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
For someone at Bates's calibre, when you're spooked by something like that, when it happens at Bathurst, I suppose it does become front and centre of your mind again if it feels like that once again, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the thing I'm impressed with is that he picked up on it as well because, although Bathurst was some time ago now, that in this little, off period, it's sprung to mind, the car feels the same, he's recorded that back, and instantly, after that tyre change, Reynolds has responded. He's already exchanging, sectors with the front two cars, so he's less than a tenth off. Purple middle sector, so maybe Dave needs a little bit of a rev up too, and he gets firing. It's good to see.
He's about to set the fastest lap of the race. During that little exchange down in pit lane, we're watching the leaders. I love elite professional racing car drivers doing what they do best, because Shane Van Gisbergen and Garth Tander, they're not just trading fastest laps, they're doing it to the 100th of a second. And last time around, the previous lap before this one, they were literally 1/100th apart in lap time. two different types of cars, two different teams, two different drivers, both about the same height, but remarkably consistent and fast and impressive race car driving. Even if they're 10 seconds apart on the road, it's an awesome battle of just outrageous skill by some of the best racing car drivers in the nation.
We pan down the back straight, and there you can see your leader, who now responds after what Richard was just talking about, goes fastest in the first sector. So these two are trading times. It's 11.17 seconds between Tander and Van Gisbergen, and every time, as Richard said, Garth seems to eke into the 10s or sneak into the 10s. Shane responds.
They added air conditioning to the Audis with the 2022 Evo. I wasn't aware they added a radio to the AMG, but clearly they're listening to us. This conversation as these two punch out lap times at the front of the field. And there's the team down at 888 Race Engineering with JMR. They're running two cars up in World Challenge Asia, so they've got quite the fleet of Mercedes AMGs. And 888 Race Engineering is the Mercedes AMG customer racing distributor here in Australia now, so they've got that relationship with the factory. David Reynolds, fastest lap of the race, thank you very much, 109.0.
Welcome to the party, Dave.
That upgrade that you talked about for the Audis, I think we covered this at Phillip Island. I mean, it wasn't a subtle enhancement. It was pretty significant work they had to do to up-spec them, wasn't it?
Yeah, the upgrade kit was quite significant. A lot of the bodywork had to come off, a lot of internals, engine out. The air conditioning system, not really air conditioning, but for an AM-based category where the drivers aren't always the professionals, it's an important thing to make driver comfort. And even at the 12-hour, when it was very, very cold and most of it was quite damp, they were using that aircon, and it's very, very effective. Here is Reynolds. This is the Tech Laser car that he's sharing with Tony Bates, who we heard from before. Batesy very experienced now. Dave's about to punch out another fastest lap. To get the 8s, he does, a 108.9. That's quick. 10th on the road, but fastest on the track.
All good signs for tomorrow. Tony talking before about where they'll start tomorrow's race. A reminder too, we're live on air from 11 a.m. Eastern on Stan Sport tomorrow. Make sure you join us for that. Big day of racing. So good to be here at Queensland Raceway. First major national motorsport meeting since 2019. It seems crazy to talk like that, and it's wonderful to see so many cars lining the circuit all the way around here, coming to enjoy some racing, and lots of diversity, variety. We've got some cool categories to come your way still in our coverage this afternoon, including the Premier Super Cheap Auto TCR Australia Series, which Michael Caruso is racing in. There's Trans Am and a whole lot more. That is super. That looks so cool.
Well, it's always been one of the best spectator facilities because you can see the whole racetrack from wherever you are.
There in the glasses?
It is. That's a bit of James Loff action. Watching on from the top of the pit building. But what has been developed since Tony Quinn's taken over is it's now got some of the amenity to back up that brilliant viewing. So simple stuff like shade over the seats up at turn 1, that amazing pit building and a rooftop just a little bit further back up pit lane as well. So improvements adding to it. There's the shade. Simple thing, but on a hot summer's day, especially up in this part of the world, it's pretty vicious in the sun. So simple stuff like that just adds to it. But I love the fact you can drive in, park your car, old school motor racing viewing.
See it all.
Brilliant. Maybe set the barbecue up, get the sausages out and enjoy a day at the races.
And if we know our friend Tony Quinn, who I think's been coming up with ways to revolutionise the Australian healthcare system while he's recovering, he has some very good plans beyond what we've already seen here.
I don't know how to follow that, but well, I know what you're saying.
I hope he's on the men. We've got some very great men and women in that field, I should say, too. Done it tough over COVID. Very, very difficult for them. So, but he's big on, as he's done in New Zealand, and he's doing now with the Topor circuit, enhancing them, making them better. Now, we can see Molly Taylor there. That's the car of Theo and James Konduras, I think, which is responsible for our safety car before. So maybe Molly's got an update on what's happening with that car as we zoom in and have a little look at.
Yeah, well, guys, I know I'm no mechanic, but this isn't good. I've also found James Konduras, who, you're out of your race suit, the car's back in the garage. Just talk us through what happened. I mean, it's never a good sign when we see smoke coming from this side of the track, but what happened out there?
Oh, look, I just noticed a fire in the back of it, so I pulled up next to the fire marshals and got the hell out of there, hit the firebomb. I'm no mechanic either, but it don't look good.
It looks like it's some kind of electrical fire. So was there anything that, you felt just prior to this happening, or any ideas?
The car felt a bit static, like it just wasn't going as well as it normally does. And then I looked back and just saw the fire, so I wasn't going to hang around.
We see the MPC crew working really hard to try and see what's happened, see what they can fix. At this stage, it might be a bit too early to tell, but do you think there's any chance we'll make it out for the second race?
Oh, look, we'll try, but it'd be good to be out there on the second race, for the second race. But, yeah, I don't like our chances, to be quite honest. I think we'll be going home.
Well, fingers crossed. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
He's great. Yeah, he's a great character, James Konduras, and his brother Theo. They're really cool people to go and talk to. Very successful in business, but passionate about their motor racing. And you can see the disappointment there. He just wants to be on the racetrack. And they know they're not going to win the race outright, but they were certainly class contenders and were certainly challenging for that. So a big shame. Gee, they've been through the ringer with a 12-hour crash and dramas here in their return to racing in GT World Challenge Australia. Just over 10 minutes to go in this one. Shane Van Gisbergen leads the way. 10.9 seconds the margin to Garth Tander, who's taken over from Yasser Shahin. Fraser Ross is third in that G-Technic car, brand new sponsorship on board. And they're running third outright, having taken over from Liam Talbot. Mark Ross is still running an excellent fourth and leading the AM class in car 17, and Brad Schumacher in the trophy class, because his is an older model Audi R8 without the upgrade kits. He's running fifth at the moment, setting very good lap times. And one thing that's been interesting to watch Michael Caruso and Greg Rust is that even this late in the race, 10 minutes to go out of 60, lap 35, still a lot of drivers setting personal best lap time. So this Pirelli tyre, which is the harder compound that they do run, is still producing very good tyre life.
Yeah, it's good to see, and it's good to see, obviously, the drivers are still pushing really hard. They know that they want to make up for anything that they've done even before, you know, the tyres coming up to temperature after the stops. But particularly, you know, people could still be making mistakes late in the race, so they want to keep their speed up all the way to the end.
Those of you following David Reynolds' progress, we caught a glimpse of him there a moment ago. He's up into position number 8 now, so he's been able to get, as you saw, ahead of Scott Taylor and Peter Hackett there. So 8th place at the moment, and has the fastest lap of the race. As we go back to... There he is on cue. Very kind of our director. I'm not trying to tell Brian where to go in terms of the direction of the coverage. Apologies. There he is.
So his next target, Matt Stuper's only 1.4 odd seconds up the road, 1.2 now. So he'll get to the back of the KFC car, and then further up is Paul Stokel, who's taken over from Gary Higgins in car number 2. And with all the love and respect in the world to Matt Stupers, Paul Stokel, triple Australian Drivers' Champion, will be pretty hard work. He is an incredibly talented driver. But Stupus, the next target, started on the front row, drove really well in qualifying, great lap to get on the front row of the grid in KFC Audi. But he's got a fired up David Reynolds, a Bathurst winner, a Supercars race winner. And he's talked himself down every round we've talked to him, and he did it at Phillip Island, and he did it at the 12-hour. He goes, oh, I'm not very good in these cars. I'm not that quick, you know, I'm the amateur in these cars. Come on, mate. He has been blisteringly quick in all of them, David Reynolds. He's a pro. He's a very good racing car driver, and he's showing that once again with some very fast lap times aboard car number 24, and gets past number 23 and moves to 7th place.
Matt had that off before at turn 2, which he'll be disappointed in so far. But, you know, in the heat of battle here, when a couple of faster competitors like David have arrived on the scene, he's driven with real smarts, hasn't he?
I agree with you. I agree. And they're in different races as well. So Matt Stupas is in the AM class, so in Reynolds and Bates in Pro-Am. So it's a different trophy. It doesn't change the weekend for Matt Stupas. His rivals are Mark Rosser, who's further up the road, and that will probably be the bigger disappointment, that he's not running with this guy, because they're in that same AM class. You can tell that by the colour of the little stripe next to their position indicator on the totem top left of the screen.
To your point, Mark is leading that class and 4th outright, so he's done a super job, hasn't he?
The sun is blazing out there at the moment. Temperatures up. Qualifying coming up.
What are you thinking? Well, probably a bit more confidence with rear tyre temperature with this much UV now.
It definitely helps the tyres come up. But look, it's going to be tough. There's two 2 qualifying sessions. Obviously, you want to get in the 10, get yourself in a good little spot. But you don't want to use too many sets of front tyres because a little bit different here compared to the Pirellis. The tyres do go away. You know, they're expected to, and that's really what makes the difference. So if you can save a set of fronts for later in the weekend, that'll be key. Had
a bit of rain overnight, as Krause said before, and then you guys were basically under lights at the end of the day yesterday. Where are you at, and is there a car that you've observed from practice yesterday that you think is the car to beat this weekend? Is it Will Brown in the Audi, or the Peugeots, which we haven't seen at Queensland Raceway before? What sort of shape do you reckon of your rivals?
Oh, look, the Peugeots will be there. They've been quick every weekend. There hasn't been a track that hasn't suited them, but I think the Audis, you know, the testing that they did recently, that's definitely helped. I mean, to see them both quickest in one of each session, yeah, I think they'll have the setup for the weekend.
It's going to be a great battle. Qualifying coming your way. Not that far away, to be honest. We're about an hour and a half away from that session. That's probably less than that, isn't it? Count our way down to Super Chip Auto TCR Australia qualifying. 5 minutes to go in this one. And Shane van Gisbergen has just maintained that 10.7 second margin over Garth Tander. Combined again at Bathurst later this year. But what a performance it's been with these great pros at the front of the field. So Fraser Ross still in third, Rosser in fourth. Mike Rosser, quite successful in business, took some time out of racing, but he started racing in HQ Holdens at Malala Raceway in South Australia.
You're a long way from home, Toto.
What a great category to start with.
Awesome.
Yep. So he's running fourth, and Paul Stokel rounding out the top 5 with Brad Schumacher now sixth. In fact, that's a recent change of position. So Stokel has got in front. Oh, and off the road. That is Matt Stupas, having started from the front row of the grid, was just passed by David Reynolds. He's got a long way off the escape road down at turn 3. Big stop, 250 k's an hour before they smash that middle brake pedal well beyond the 150 metre mark going into that corner. And those who have got a great position to watch motor racing at Queensland Raceway in the back of the ute down there at turn 3 had a view of that. You can see the telltale sign where it's bounced through that very thick gravel trap.
I hope he's done enough to keep it off the wall.
It looks like he's just got the thing pulled up before it.
4 minutes to go.
I wonder if race control will be, they'll be talking to the sector flag marshals down there.
Flag.
Oh, no, I'm not sure that was supposed to be flying. Still green on the timing monitor at the moment. So the point I was going to make is the wave yellows down at turn 3 might be sufficient to see this through. And race control will be talking to the sector marshal. They'll get the word through to make sure that Matt is okay. And then the race director will make a call about potentially finishing this race with wave yellows down at turn 3, which means no overtaking, no passing down there. And the drivers do need to reduce speed. With 3 minutes left on the clock, it might be the smart decision to ensure this race can finish under green.
10.9 seconds. So it's just sort of seesawed but stayed at that margin, hasn't it? 10, 11 seconds, but between those two, it's been exciting to watch. But that late safety car just prior to the opening of the pit window was very, very timely for these guys, for Johor Racing, for the Triple Eight organisation.
Yeah, it really cost Audi, Rusty, that safety car. They were in a pretty good position. If it had stayed green, they were going to be behind, but it would have been a much, much smaller margin than the 10 or so seconds we've seen. It's a second GT race in a row where strategies probably cost them. Mount Panorama, they were the fastest cars in the 12-hour, but Mercedes were better over the course of a race. Now, it's a very different scenario in a 1-hour sprint race as opposed to a 12-hour enduro, but once again, it's worked out really well for Mercedes-AMG. They are having a purple patch in GT racing around the world at the moment. Spa 24-hour winners a week ago. Jules Gounon, who won the 12-hour and probably the best GT racer in the world at the moment, again, doing an awesome job with Raffaele Marciello and a couple of other great drivers to win that race for Mercedes. And Audi, it's a tough time as opposed to that. So it swings and roundabouts in the competitive world of GT racing right now. Merc AMG on top, and less than 2 minutes to go for SVG to bring this home and deliver them another win.
you must, among the many things that you've already enjoyed across the globe in motor racing, you must go and do Le Mans or Spa, and
on the list.
Not just as a spectator, you'd be super as a commentator in that regard. So we're headed for home in this one. Shane van Gisbergen and Jeffrey Ibrahim set to take it out with just 4 corners remaining for them. There's second place, Garth Tander. Heard from his co-driver who started this race in Yasser Shahin, and I think he was talking about not feeling totally comfortable in his stint with that car. So there'll be some navel gazing tonight, won't there, at Audi Sport Customer Racing, and let's see what they bring to the table tomorrow.
Yeah, clearly the rapidly changing track conditions have caught a couple of people out, and car balance isn't what it was yesterday when it was overcast and wasn't sunshine. Hasn't been a problem for this team though. A great recovery drive from Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim in stint 1, and then the current king of the sport, Shane van Gisbergen, has brought it home. Mercedes AMG back on top in GT World Challenge Australia to commanding victory, and SVG and 888 on top, and a really good job from the Prince down there in pit lane watching on. Garth Tander brings home the car that he shares with the reigning champ and current championship leader Yasser Shahin. They're second. Good points for Audi Sport Customer Racing Australia. Celebrations for 888, gents, but it's only half the job. Another one to do tomorrow, so they need to back up that performance and see if they can do it again and really put their mark on that championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Great performance. Nice way to kick the weekend off.
Really faultless drive, great pit stop. And that after, and Prince Jeffrey admitted it, didn't he? He said the opening lap wasn't great, but his recovery after it was outstanding.
Yeah, great response. Lots of confidence in his ability and with the car as well, which is important. The team's moulded really well around him.
Well done to Mark Rosser, 4th outright as well. And the winner in AM, we take a look at some of the results here for you. And David Reynolds did a very good job to recover to 7th outright. So good performance coming back through.
Yeah, so Rosser 4th, Stoker 5th, Schumacher in 6th position at the end, so it was 7th in the end for Reynolds and Bates after a pretty good comeback. They'll be frustrated with that current slow air leak in the tyre. Will be something they go back and look at tonight. Hopefully they can recover, but they start from the front row tomorrow, and it will be David Reynolds starting the race. Let's go back and see how this all played out. Race 1, Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS. The Audi Brigade led them comfortably into turn 1. In fact, they were 1, 2 and 3 in the opening stages of this race, and Jeffrey Ibrahim on the opening lap was in a world of pain and off the road.
And there was some dirty stuff in that part of the track, and it just unsettled things, but he would recover and claw his way back into a good position by the time the pit stop window opened. Matt Stupas had made a perfect start, slotting in behind Yasser Shahin until this. A rare blue in the KFC entry. It looks as though for Theo and James Kandouris, unfortunately because of this, that they may take no further part in the weekend. Shame. It meant the safety car was on circuit. It meant the pit window would open a short time after we resumed racing.
That was a crazy moment for Matt Stupas, wasn't it? Out of turn 2. And this Mark Rosser, similar sort of incident at much lower speed, and was able to catch it. And that surrendered 3rd spot. And then the pit stop. So the safety car worked brilliantly for 888 with JMR Racing and gave them a massive advantage with their pit stop time. That was Stupas just having a really difficult end to what was a promising start to his day off the road down at turn 3. And in the end, the Merc AMG did the job. Winners in Asia and now winners in Australia. A remarkable season for this team continues. SVG and Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim doing the job here at Queensland Raceway.
Let's go to pit lane. Here's Chris.
Thank you very much. In 3rd place today for race 1 of the GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS, was Liam Talbot. Liam, well done. That first stint was a nice one. Safety car helped.
Yeah, I made a bit of work for myself, but yeah, car was mega and heaps of fun with the G-Technic Audi and Fraser for the weekend. No complaints.
Exactly. Fraser, for you bringing it home there, getting yourself a trophy. Nice job.
Yeah, it's nice. You know, obviously teaming up with Liam again, a new sponsor this week with G-Technic and obviously Shannon. So, you know, it's obviously Liam did a fantastic job in his stint. Obviously, tall asked for me to hang out with these boys, but had no rear tyres. But it was good. You know, come home in 3rd, the car's straight, and we're all ready for tomorrow.
Well done. Congratulations, guys. Another race tomorrow. All the best. We'll jump in with the boys beside who are celebrating at the moment. Garth Garth Tander just brought it home in second place. Yasser Shahin alongside. Garth, I'll start with you. The hat's not ready, always the pro. The carrot was dangling. Van Gisbergen was in front, but that lead, the safety car really hurt.
Yeah, that safety car right before the pit stop window opened smashed us. Yasser did a great job in the first part of the race, and then we needed to have 15 seconds on that car prior to the pit stop window, and I think we got it. You know, I spent the whole last stint 11 seconds behind them, so if we had that 15 seconds, yeah, if we had that 15 seconds, it might have been a bit of a race, but no, happy with second.
Yasser, for you, important points in your title defence.
Yeah, definitely. We've just got to keep scoring points every round. It's on game. I think we're in a good spot for tomorrow, so looking forward to that.
Well done, boys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Stubbsy.
We'll skip around to our champions for the first weekend of racing, or first race of the weekend. And we'll see if we can jump in with the boys. We'll start with Prince Jeffrey. Jeffrey, for you, it looks like a bit of a handful there at the start, but your stint, that recovery drive, was outstanding and so important for this result.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to do my best in the first few laps and I messed it up. So I got to make it up before the team kicked me in the ass. So before ending into Shane, I just tried to keep it clean and just try to gain that position back and enjoy every moment of the laps.
Great job, and great job in Asia recently too. We'll catch up with you again a little bit later in the day.
Thanks.
Shane Van Gisbergen, you knew you had Garth Tander trying to chase you down there. The timing of the safety car played to your advantage, but still, you had to race hard at the front.
I didn't really do much there. That was all even, and then I got in and had 10-second lead or something. So, yeah, I don't know. I just drove around, but what an awesome job. He had a tough first lap, but then his passes back through were really, really cool. So hopefully I'll do the same tomorrow, get him in a good spot, and he can bring it home.
We look forward to it. Well done.
Thank you. Cheers.
Mark Rosser, 4th overall, first in the AM category. Some drive.
Yeah, that was pretty cool actually. Got to thank the team and Marcus for a good strategy there, and they pulled off a nice pit stop to give me a couple of fresh boots as well for that second part of it too. So yeah, it was great.
We were just chatting before. You're doing a single drive, so you're doing double the work of those other guys. So how'd you pull up after that?
It was actually pretty hot, so I was a bit sweaty, and I had to lift my visor up so I can get the sweat out of my eyes out on track. But no, I've been working hard at my fitness over the last 12 months to try and become a race car driver. So it's slowly getting there.
Well, it's definitely working well, and we could see that it looked like quite a struggle sometimes with managing that tyre temperature and the tyre condition. So how did you manage to get the optimal out of that, and how difficult was it?
I don't really know. I just kept driving as fast as I could, and it was slippery, a bit slippery, but just hung on and kept pushing. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations, Mark.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Molly. Soaking up the sun here in pit lane and waiting patiently for their turn out on track. Our TCR boys, 2 qualifying sessions in race 1. Jordan Cox and Will Brown with me. Guys, it's a long wait to get here, 2.5 months, and an even longer wait to watch these GT cars go out, the Porsches go out as well. I bet you're just waiting to rip in.
Yeah, keen as we're all commenting on how white we are from the break in between. So this summer, Queensland, summer-like weather is brilliant. So we're really enjoying it here. So our cars are pretty good. So they've been good all year. GRM's done a great job tuning our cars up throughout the year. So hoping for some good results this weekend.
You didn't really have a rest, did you? Because you've got your own workshop and you've been quite busy in the last 2.5 months. So even though you're not racing cars, you've been working on other people's cars.
Yeah, flat out with that. So that's it's been pretty eventful. Like June, July is pretty hectic with a lot of grassroots motorsport. So there's a few guys I look after cars there for. So prepping those and keeping them going for them. So yeah, it's been great.
Will, essentially a home game for you here. Must be great to be back at Queensland Raceway. Our first major category to race here in 3 years. Can you believe it? In fact, the last time we were here, you won the TCR series that year in 2019. So it must be very cool to be back.
Yeah, it's awesome to be back at Ipswich. Obviously a home round, like you say, so got a lot of support down here this weekend, but it's great to be back in the TCR cars. Obviously, like you say, it's been a bit of a break, but I've had plenty of other racing on, but really cool to be back racing.
So we've been doing a weather check. It looks all right now, but it's quite windy. You're kind of local. What's going to happen?
I have no idea. The sky's blue. It should be right, I reckon.
You reckon we're okay?
Yeah, no, we'll be fine. We'll be right.
Good on you, fellas. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Can't wait to rip in for qualifying in race 1. That's coming up a little later. Super Cheap Auto TCR Australia, round 5 of the Speed Series. And, of course, Sandown still to come. And what better way to finish than at the Bathurst International?
Bathurst. It's where heroes are made. Mount Panorama, famous and feared. And after a 3-year pause, the cream of global motorsport categories and cars will descend on Australia's greatest racing circuit for an event that will have been worth the wait.
Contact, and he's got him!
It's the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst International. racing machines proven on the circuits of Europe, Asia and the United States, and a homegrown take on premier open wheel racing. The Super Cheap Auto Bathurst International, November 11 to 13.